Better late than never, yeah? We were supposed to be on live at 3 o'clock and it's 11 minutes past, so apologies for my tardiness, but we are here on Facebook, on YouTube and on Periscope for our regular Wednesday Sportuccino, all about the wonderful world of professional wrestling. Yes, we will be talking about WWE Backlash and we'll be talking about NXT TakeOver Chicago. We'd love for you to give us your opinions of those events. What was your favorite match of the weekend? What was the worst moment for you? Let us know in the comments section on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Periscope. We want to make this your interactive program. And thanks to those of you who are listening back to this as a podcast on iTunes, please go and subscribe to our page. I've got a great guest coming up in just a moment, but first I want to say about 99 Designs. 99 Designs helped design the Sportuccino logo. Pretty smart, right? And you too can also get something designed. All you've got to do is go to the link which is connected to this Facebook page and this YouTube page, and of course at sportuccino.com. Click through that link and test out their service. Of course, if you do end up buying the service, you will be helping support Sportuccino. And how it works is what they do is they offer your idea to many talented freelancers around the world. They all give their own idea of the design you want and their impression. You choose the one you like, and then you continue to work with that designer until you've got a product that you are 100% happy with. And if you're not happy with it, 99 Designs say they will give you your money back. I didn't take that option because I was happy with the design, and you could be too. Go and check it out, 99 Designs. All right, it was a huge weekend of wrestling in Chicago. First it was NXT TakeOver Chicago, then it was WWE Backlash, and I'm delighted to say for his second ever live performance on Sportuccino, his third ever in total, I'm delighted to say that from Hooked on Events, Hooked on Wrestling podcast, we have got Paul Benson. Paul, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon, Rich. Thank you for having me. Very well. It's nice and sunny here in Yorkshire today, so no complaints.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day here down in Brighton as well. Although I was having a little bit of a rant earlier about how people have got their shirts off, walking around topless already. That's men, of course, is what I mean. And it's a bit too early for that, in my opinion. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about other men with their shirts off. Let's talk about some wrestling, Paul. What was the biggest highlight of the weekend for you?
Without question, the highlight of the weekend was the events of NXT TakeOver on Saturday evening, and specifically by that I mean our guys from the UK representing us in the UK Championship match, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, putting on the performance of the year, arguably, in that UK Championship match. It was phenomenal.
So for you, that's the match of the year so far?
I would say so. I think there's a couple that go close. I think the contenders for me are that one, Cena Styles at the Royal Rumble, and then the tag team triple threat match, the Revival, DIY, and the Authors of Pain from WrestleMania weekend, the TakeOver in Orlando.
That's the match of the year so far?
I can't really pick between the three of them. I would say so. I think there's a couple that go close. The UK guys in that esteemed company is a massive compliment.
Yeah, I was really impressed with them. Of course, we went to the inaugural UK Championship tournament back in Blackpool in January, and I think we were both impressed with both of them, Dunne and Tyler Bate. Got to see their first match, and I think we're really happy that Tyler won on that night. Was it the right decision to make Dunne champion now?
I think so. I think with them getting this spotlight that they've not had before on an international basis, they need to do something that was quite interesting. And ultimately, I think Pete Dunne's the guy that WWE have their eyes on as the long-term prospect. Tyler was brilliant in Blackpool because that tournament and the story they told on the night needed the babyface win at the end, and it really capped it off, and it gave everyone a great feeling having left the arena that night, or the hall. So it was very useful to have that there. But Pete Dunne really is the man who's going to be the spotlight going forward, and I think it was the right time to give him the belt. And the right stage to do it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go from now. What do you think they need to do with the WWE UK division? Do you think they should keep doing these kind of ad hoc specials, or do they need to create something every week, or do they need to be a permanent part of NXT, or even a permanent part in some ways of one of the main brands?
Well, I think it's a combination of all of the above, to be honest. I think the tapings they did in Norwich, you could consider that, a pilot, as you would a regular TV series. I think it was a successful pilot. I think it worked quite well. I think there's no rush to get a weekly regular show on until the audience are more familiar with the guys. They've done a brilliant job building up a couple of stars. They could do with a bit more of that on maybe the odd takeover episode here and there over the next few months. One thing I'd also like them to see is see the belt defended on independent cards around the UK. So put on a Progress Wrestling show or an OTT show or an ICW show or an NGW show or, wherever. I would like to see that happen and sort of have casual fans be more familiar with this division and have WWE support in the UK. At that point, they can go forward with a UK series that, after the success of Saturday, would probably be much more well received than it maybe would have been even a week ago. I think it would have done really well in the UK, naturally, but I think there's so many people have woken up to the talent that's available in the UK now, and I think if you put a UK show on, it'd be a big boost to the network.
Definitely. Well, we'll have to see what they do in the future with that. Let's return to Chicago, to NXT TakeOver. That was your highlight of the weekend. That card seemed to have some pretty other good matches. What else? What also stuck out for you, Paul?
In terms of the top three matches were the NXT title match with Bobby Roode and Hideo Itami. Very good match, quite basic, but told the right story and the right guy won. The tag team match, the ladder match, also a really, really strong match. Those Authors of Pain guys, what are they, 22, 23 years old? Amazing where they're at in their careers, considering they don't look like the guys who would naturally put on a good match. And then obviously the finale there, where we got the big surprise turn by Tommaso Ciampa, was absolutely outstanding.
I was looking up some information about the Authors of Pain guys. They look like twins, but they're not related at all. That was the first thing I found out. The second thing I found out is one of them, I think, was an amateur wrestler. I think he was at an Olympic level, was spotted by, I want to say, William Regal or one of those guys, and has literally only been in the WWE maybe 2-3 years in total. And of course, they only made their debut about a year ago. It is an amazing rise that they've had, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think they came in with zero experience. I think it's been a brilliant move to put them with Paul Ellering, who is probably teaching them all sorts how to handle themselves as wrestlers, and then putting them in the ring with the guys they've faced. So the Revival, American Alpha, DIY, 3 phenomenal tag teams. And all credit to them, they've taken advantage of the experience they've been offered. They've soaked it up. They've got visibly better on every takeover. Now, when was the last time you had a monster tag team? 2 big heels that looked as intimidating as those two do, yet also could put on exciting matches. They're going to be such a valuable asset going forward. I hate to make the hyperbolic comparison so early in the careers, but you could well have another Road Warriors Legion of Doom on your hands.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what they're going with Paul Ellering as their manager. Be interesting to see what happens there. One more match I'd like to talk about, well, in fact, there's 2 more matches I want to talk about NXT, was Asuka winning the right move?
Unquestionably, yes. I think that the 2 women she was in the ring with, Ruby Riott and Nikki Cross, both very, very solid, but certainly not people at this time who you'd see as the face of that brand. Asuka has been absolutely phenomenal as a champ. She's done that rare sort of deed of starting as a face champ, morphing into a heel champ, and being just as effective. She does need to lose it soon. They need to build up that superstar babyface for her to lose it too. But when that time comes, it has to be in a one-on-one match. It cannot be in a triple threat or a 4-way as it was supposed to be.
See, I was quite surprised. I thought that the whole point of having what was initially a fatal four-way, then Ember Moon got injured and then became a triple threat. I thought it was the easy out for WWE to have her lose the belt without actually losing, have one of the Ruby Riott pin Nikki Cross or vice versa, then gives Asuka a chance to go up to the main roster and continue this unbeaten streak, which they've been really trying to sell right now. When she does leave NXT, do you think she could leave undefeated?
I'd like to see it, but based on WWE's history, I don't see it happening. And effectively, you don't really lose any momentum. If she loses one match and then goes up, I don't think that hurts her drawing power in any way, shape, or form. But if she went up undefeated, you would lose that equity of passing the torch to the babyface that finally beats her. And I think that would be a huge missed opportunity. So if it was me booking, I'd make sure she took a loss on her way out, that's for sure, and a clean one.
Okay, really good to get your thoughts so far on NXT TakeOver Chicago. Paul, stay there for a moment. We're going to be talking about WWE Backlash in just a moment. But I just wanted to remind our viewers that last week I had the opportunity to speak to Rockstar Spud. Yes, the star from Impact Wrestling. We covered a whole range of topics. You can go back and watch it at Sportuccino.com. And I wanted to just highlight one moment that I had with Rockstar Spud where he spoke about his goals, his next goal, his next target that he wants to achieve with Impact Wrestling. Have a look at this.
Previously on Sportuccino.
I want to be world champion, and here's what I want. I want to be world champion in Impact Wrestling. It's attainable, and I know it's attainable. I'm going to be the top of the industry, and that's how I live my life every day. This is what I want to be. This is how I see myself. Whether that's because I work differently to other people, and see what I see now in the industry. Everyone's doing a lot of the same, and every match is very much the same. So I'm doing me, but I'm doing the total opposite of what they're doing that makes it stand out a bit more. If I'm seeing the great, for example, I'm on a Progress Wrestling show, and there's these matches, and they're doing this British strong style stuff, and blah blah blah. I'm going to go in there and give you a good guy versus a bad guy, and it's going to stand out. You know the reason it's going to stand out? Because everybody else is doing that. And you might go, oh well. It stands out, you remember it, and you remember it because it's different. And you have to be different. No matter what people are doing, try and do something different. There's no point going out there and being a knockoff version of someone that's already on the card, or someone that's already over in the business. You have to be different. And if what's old is new, bring it back. No problem with it,
Yeah, it's really good to speak to Rockstar Spud. Go back and watch that at Sportuccino.com. Well, Paul Benson is still here. Paul, it's nice that you're inside for this interview today, unlike last time where you were in the car. You've done well
yes,
there.
I've had a bit of a change of circumstances. I've given up my life as a rep on the road, back to doing something I'm a bit more familiar with and working in marketing and press for MMA and wrestling organisations. So back where I belong.
Fantastic, and it's good to see you steady in one place, not on the road. All right, let's continue. Let's talk about WWE Backlash. Obviously, only one place to start. He is not hindered anymore. Jinder Mahal is your new WWE World Champion. You are living in the world of Jinder Mahal now, Paul. How do you feel?
I feel positive about it. Obviously, the backlash has been massive. Now, I'll start by saying I thought the match was dull and boring. But the point is that they've got this guy with the belt now that everybody hates. Like, there's nobody that, take Kevin Owens, for instance. He's not a true heel because we all love Kevin Owens. We all cheer when he does something. We all like what he does. Everyone despises the belt being on Jinder Mahal's shoulders. They think he's undeserving. They think he's not as good as AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, Nakamura, even Dolph Ziggler. And they're right. And that's the point. Because it takes so much to make a real heel in WWE these days. We're all smart fans. And we just want to see our favourites succeed, whether that's getting booed or getting cheered. Everybody hates Jinder. And I think that is a positive. Like, it really reminds me of the JBL title win in 2004. And I was in my early 20s then, massive consumer of WWE at every sort of point I could get it. And I went bonkers when JBL won. I threatened never to watch it again. I just thought it was the most ludicrous thing ever. And guess what? They absolutely got me. Hook, line, and sinker. And it worked out brilliantly in the end. He had a great championship reign as a sneaky little heel. And then he used the equity that had built up in that for, maybe 10 months to launch the career of John Cena. And it wouldn't have worked. John Cena winning the belt off anybody else just would not have had the same impact. It wouldn't have been as clearly impactful and as well received. So I could see the same thing happening with Jinder Mahal. I think it's a really interesting move. Obviously, it helps in their Indian market as well, which I know from my experiences working with Impact Wrestling is massively, massively lucrative. So anything they can do to bring a few more eyeballs there and a bit more revenue, there's a bonus too. We might not like it in the short term, but like you say, we're living in a Jinder world now, and I think it's a good move all over.
Yeah, you stole my thunder there when you started speaking about JBL, Paul, because that's exactly what I thought when Jinder won. The other one who similar type of character I feel that they're going with Jinder is a little bit of Alberto Del Rio when he had his first run with WWE, yep. and I think that could be a good place for them to go. It also feels like what they've tried to do with Rusev before, but have been a little bit too scared to pull the trigger on for whatever reason. I'm not really sure why. You said that it was great for someone like John Cena. It was great for John Cena when he was able to take down JBL. Is there someone then who could potentially feud with Jinder in the future and almost have that John Cena role, do you think?
That's a very good question. And the likelihood is that if that's the case, it's probably somebody who's going to come in from NXT, maybe, who we haven't even seen yet. In the short term, I know the guy that I want to feud with Jinder, and it's Rusev. You mentioned him a couple of seconds ago. I would love to see Rusev come back with a character where he's suddenly, come to the realization that, America has given him so much. He's given him the opportunity to be a WWE superstar. It's given him fame. It's given him Lana. And I'd love to see him embrace that, not in a comic way, but in a very serious way, and play almost an American patriot character to take on Jinder. I think that'd be really interesting. And I think we're all dying to cheer Rusev. I think that goes for the whole wrestling world. I think people have seen enough of him as a heel. They want him. They want to be able to cheer him, and I think he's ready for it. I think it'd be a massive, massive thing to come back like that.
See, I'm thinking the John Cena character will be played by John Cena, and he'll come back and then just beat Jinder Mahal at WWE SummerSlam or something like that. That certainly wouldn't surprise me. Let's talk about the rest of the card, though. Paul, Jinder. Oh no! Before we do that, the one thing I need to talk about is. It's good to hear that the Singh brothers are all right, because did you see when Randy Orton back suplexed one of them practically on his head on the table, and Orton even gave the facial expression of, "Oh my God, I hope he's all right."
Pull the face like you know he's done some damage. It looked nasty, didn't it? But luckily, they're young lads. They're not the heaviest guys in the world, and they're clearly very flexible. So I think if he was 50 pounds heavier and 5 years older, I think he might have been in severe difficulties. But like, he's fine.
Yeah, I think that was it, Paul. I think it was the fact that he was so light that when Orton went to back body drop, he almost just flew in the air. Yeah, but it looked pretty painful. There was a few matches also in the day before in the NXT TakeOver match between Eric Young and Roderick Strong, which I kind of started watching through my fingers going, oh, that looks painful. Even Roderick Strong's finishing move, which I think looks absolutely incredible. But let's stay with WWE Backlash. What did you make of the debut of Shinsuke Nakamura?
Honestly, underwhelming, if I'm honest. Like, I've been looking forward to this a lot, as had everybody. They're very smart in leaving it for pay-per-view rather than giving it away on SmackDown. Why they felt the need to make it a 15-minute competitive back-and-forth match, I have no idea. You should have had a bit of a formula where Nakamura comes in, shows off his stuff, Ziggler fights back, and then Nakamura decisively takes him out in about 8 or 10 minutes. That would have made him look like a badass from day one. But instead, you get someone that on paper, on screen, struggles to beat the guy that's not really managed to beat Kalisto or various other lesser talents in recent months. I don't think it was a good move, and I don't think it was a good start, unfortunately. But hopefully, cream rise to the top, and I don't think Nakamura will be damaged in the long term.
Yeah, as I was watching that match, it felt that like 2/3 to 75% of the offense was coming from Ziggler. And actually, when Nakamura won, I went, all right, if this is a football match, you'd all be going crazy. The worst team has won this match. It was like a team having 70% possession, 18 shots on goal, 12 of them on target, against a team which has defended the whole time, had 2 shots, but still won the game 1-0. That's what it felt like to me a little bit.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think it's a big misstep.
We'll have to see what happens next for Shinsuke and Nakamura. Were there any other highlights from you on that card, Paul, or were you disappointed by it?
Overall, I was disappointed, although there were a couple of highlights. I thought Owens Styles was very good, as we all knew it would have been. Probably if anything, it suffered from slight overhype. I don't think it could ever quite have been as good as we all wanted it to be based on the talent involved. But it was a good match and very enjoyable. I hope to see more of that. The other highlight was probably the tag team title match. The Fashion Police have grown on me so much. Before when that gimmick started and before then, I was not taken with those guys at all. But since the face turn and the little push, they've become a really interesting comic face tag team, and I'd like to see them get more of a chance as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I really enjoyed in the Owens Styles match the way that Owens won the match when Styles got his leg caught in the table. I thought that was quite innovative, quite new. I can't recall ever seeing that actually. Love the Breezango stuff. Albeit, I'm starting to wonder, why did they call them Breezango when they could have called them Febreze? That would have worked perfectly.
I don't know.
They could have the little sprays going. He could have been an undercover cleaner and everything like that.
Hey,
you've got your next what are they called? What's the name of the cereal? My brain's gone dead from New Day. It could be the new Butios. That's what it could be, the new Febreze spray or something. Who knows? Anyway, I really enjoyed that. Love the stuff with the mop. Love the fact that he kind of changed what he was wearing. And I think it's a really good combination with the Usos. And it'll be interesting when New Day get involved. And I also really like American Alpha. I think the tag team division there is looking pretty strong.
Agreed.
What I did find though, Paul, is, and that's what I'm finding with these co-branded, with these single-branded pay-per-views, is that you've got maybe 3 matches which are pretty good, maybe stretching to a 4th, but then the other matches they put in, to me, just feel like filler. They feel like they could just be on any SmackDown, or even like back in the day, like a Sunday Night Heat or a WWE Superstars. The women's 6-man tag, and I can't even remember the other match, because it's so forgettable.
Zayn against Corbin, Sami Zayn against Baron Corbin.
Pardon, Paul?
There was Sami Zayn against Baron Corbin was the other match there.
Yes, Sami, and I'm a big fan of Sami Zayn, and he won with the roll-up. Was that a similar feeling for you, Paul?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah, nice to see him get the surprise win. My money would have been on Corbin. But I think I get a sneaky feeling that Corbin's getting the traditional lose, win Money in the Bank booking. So I think the constant losses he's faced peg him as the favourite for that in July.
And what are your thoughts overall of having pay-per-views just around one brand? Do you like it? Do you think it gives other people the opportunities, or would you like to see more co-branded pay-per-views?
No, I like the system. I like the system as it is. I think I'd rather suffer through a few lesser matches in order to give some guys a chance. There's guys who've been on pay-per-views. Well, take Breezango as a good example. without the brand split, they just wouldn't have had the chance to be on pay-per-view, have a tag team title match. And some of these guys, given the spotlight, are going to break out. And I think the biggest problem with WWE over the last few years is just that lack of opportunity. There's so many people on the roster, so many talented guys on the roster, that there's probably dozens of talented guys who are not even getting a look in. So any more opportunities to give them a chance to shine, I'm up for. It does mean that we're not having to do pay-per-views with the same guys each month as well, which cuts down on the ridiculous amount of rematches, cuts down on the overexposure. And I'm a fan of the system, and like I said, I'd rather suffer through Aiden English and Ty Dillinger in the hope that one of them catches fire, rather than having to see Dolph Ziggler against Apollo Crews 4 pay-per-views in a row.
All right, very good. It's been really good to get your thoughts today on everything to do with NXT TakeOver Chicago and WWE Backlash, Paul. But of course, you've got a big event coming up soon as well, haven't you? Why don't you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, we do. Hooked on Events has got the Bruce Pritchard Something to Wrestle With tour coming up in July, which is going to be a phenomenal, it's our first venture into live podcasts on stage. So we've got Bruce starting with us in Dublin, Ireland on July the 15th. Then he's going to move on consecutive days to Birmingham, Manchester and London. And we're going to be bringing him and the Something to Wrestle With podcast to the stage for the first time. It's the most popular wrestling podcast in the world. And I think it's going to be so entertaining, so informative. And the tickets have been going really well, actually. There's a lot of interest in coming and seeing these shows, meeting Bruce, having a voicemail done with one of his impressions. Yeah, it's going to be, it's nerve-wracking and it's a lot of work, but I'm really looking forward to bringing it to the fans across.
Fantastic. And you added a new date as well, didn't you?
We do, yeah. We've only just announced the Dublin date on the 15th. We were meant to just do 3 dates, but the response from Ireland was pretty overwhelming. And in the end, we spoke to Bruce, asked him to move his flights, squeeze an extra day in, and now we're going over there. So again, first day of putting those tickets on sale, we literally sold 50% of the tickets. So I think it clearly was the right move on all counts. And Bruce himself's looking forward to coming over. We're going to be doing a lot of media interviews with him over the next couple of weeks. So you're going to hear a lot more from us and Bruce very soon.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it. Well, thank you for being on the show today. Paul Benson from Hooked on Events. Thank you for being on Sportuccino.
Thanks, Richard.
Really good to speak to Paul on Sportuccino today. We've had a wonderful conversation. We've been live on Sportuccino.com, Facebook, YouTube, and on Periscope. Thanks a lot for watching today. Next week, we'll be speaking to John Morrison. Yes, you may know him as Johnny Mundo from Lucha Underground. You may also know him as the former ECW champion John Morrison, the multi-time Intercontinental champion John Morrison, and he will be on our program next Wednesday. Do not miss it. Sportuccino.com, facebook.com/Sportuccino, and on YouTube. And of course, you'll be able to listen back to it as a podcast on iTunes and on Stitcher. John Morrison is on Sportuccino next Wednesday, 3 p.m. British Standard Time, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. If you're in the US, you could be enjoying that nice bowl of breakfast, seeing me chat to John Morrison. You do not want to miss that. All right, that's it for me. I've been Richard Parr. You can follow me on Twitter at Richard_Parr. But until next week for our another Sportuccino wrestling show, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.